Here we have the 2024 Canyon Spectral. Now, upon first glance, it appears pretty much identical to the old bike, but there have actually been some big updates to the frame, geometry, and suspension design. Canyon has introduced key improvements to address issues that we encountered in the past, while incorporating a few surprises as well. So, does it deliver on the trail? We've been testing the new Canyon Spectral over the past few months to find out. The Canyon Spectral features an all-new frame for 2024, along with a 10mm reduction in travel. It now features 150mm travel fork and 140mm of rear travel. Initially, we found this a little odd. After all, when a new bike gets launched, it's typically bigger than the old version. In Canyon's case, however, the Spectral has been repositioned to be more of an all-round trail bike, and if you view it as more of an amalgamation of the previous Spectral and the Spectral 125, things start to make a lot more sense. The overall frame design looks much the same, and it still retains a 4-bar suspension platform. There is a stiffer one-piece rocker link to reduce side loading on the rear shock, and the kinematic has been updated with less anti-squat for more grip and comfort over rough terrain. Likewise, the seat stays have been slimmed down to improve rear-end compliance. There's also a nifty chainstay flip chip, which allows the rear end to accept either a 27.5 or 29-inch wheel. The Spectral now incorporates down-tube storage with a hatch located underneath the bottle cage. There's a neat accessory pouch to go inside, but unfortunately it's not included with the bike. You'll also find internal guides for the cables and rear brake hose, and we're happy to see that Canyon has avoided routing them through the headset. There's also a threaded BB, plenty of noise-cancelling frame armour, and a 2-piece mud flap over the main pivot. Also noteworthy is the addition of the KIS steering stabiliser on every model. The spring tension has been decreased to make its effect more subtle, but you can still adjust the tension via the top tube slider. If you really don't like it though, the entire mechanism can be removed from the bike. Now, we have covered the KIS system in detail before, and you can see our separate video review for more info. With the addition of an extra small, the Spectral is now available in 5 sizes. The geometry has also been updated to bring it in line with Canyon's latest gravity bikes, and that sees the reach measurement increase by 15mm per size. On our medium-sized test bike here, the reach comes in at a whopping 475mm, which is pretty much a large in any other brand. I'll talk about sizing and fit in more detail shortly. Otherwise, the Spectral maintains its 64-degree head angle, and the seat tube angle clocks in at 76 to 77 degrees. The seat tube is shorter, and it has been fattened to a 34.9mm diameter, and that makes way for Canyon's new G5 dropper post with up to 230mm of travel. Out back, the rear centre length varies depending on the flip chip position. With a 29-inch wheel, you're looking at 437mm, and with a 27.5-inch wheel, that shortens to 429mm. Finally, there's a 2-position flip chip in the lower shock mount, and that changes the BB height by 8mm and adjusts the angles by half a degree. Now, there are a load of models in the Canyon Spectral lineup for 2024, but it's only the top 4 models that get the new generation carbon frame. Our test bike sits one step down from the top. This is the Canyon Spectral CF9, and the current price on this is $7,649 Australian dollars plus shipping. It's available in both a full 29er or as a mullet, and they feature an identical spec that includes RockShox Ultimate suspension with a Lyric fork and a Super Deluxe shock. We've got a SRAM GX transmission, Code RSC brakes, DT Swiss XM 1700 wheels, and Maxxis Minion DHR2 tyres with a tougher Exo Plus casing on the rear. Confirmed weight for our Canyon Spectral test bike is 14.78 kilos, and as usual, that's without pedals and with the tyres set up tubeless. Now, at 175 centimetres tall, I typically ride a medium, and that's exactly what Canyon sent us prior to the official launch of the new Spectral. Having since seen the geometry chart, however, I'd be inclined to size down to a small. That's because the new bike has a much longer reach and a taller stack, and it's coming with 30mm rise bars as standard. I've been able to make it work by trimming the bars down to my preferred width of 760mm, dropping the stem down a few spaces, and also reducing the travel on the dropper post. Still, there's no denying this is a big bike. For additional feedback, we also had Jack test out the Spectral. He normally rides a size large, but he found this medium Spectral to fit like a glove. With that in mind, anyone keen on this bike should take a very close look at the geometry chart, because there's a good chance you'll need to size down rather than up. Out on the trail, the new Spectral has impressed us with its improved all-round capabilities. Thanks to the slimmer rear end and the reduction in travel, it's got a considerably more zesty feel than its chunky figure suggests. It is terrifically agile with the short chainstays and the mullet setup doing a lot of the legwork when darting around tight and twisty trails. Combined with the low BB and the superb tyres, cornering performance is outstanding. There's great support from the suspension too, with the bolstered mid-stroke providing a stronger platform for your feet to push against. You get more reward when pumping the bike through rolling terrain, and it springs into the air whenever commanded. Manuals and nose bonks feel equally effortless, making for an action-packed ride for anyone willing to exploit its inherent playfulness. The Spectral is still highly capable on rough terrain, however, having maintained the enduro attitude of the previous version. The front end feels stout and reassuring, inspiring confidence whenever you're pointing it downhill. That's complemented by the big dropper post and the 27.5-inch rear wheel, which gives you heaps of room to hunker down and push your body weight back when needed. When really opening up the throttle, we noted how much control the Spectral offers. Some of this is due to the KIS system, which helps to calm down the steering when pinballing down rocky chutes. There's less deflection, allowing you to properly commit to weighting the front wheel. Compared to the old carbon Spectral, there's also been a welcome improvement to rear-end compliance. The added lateral flex makes the new bike notably smoother across off-camber chunk. The result is more traction and the ability to hold a better line through tricky sections. Of course, the Spectral's excellent suspension deserves plenty of praise as well. While initially a bit sticky and firm, both the fork and shock have bedded in a lot over the past 3 months of riding. Combined with the reduced anti-squat and the slimmer rear end, there's considerably less feedback through the chassis and the drivetrain. It floats beautifully through chunky rock gardens, with the supple suspension generating plenty of grip while isolating you from the terrain. The rear shock also doesn't ramp up as aggressively, so although there's 10mm less travel, it feels similarly effective. It's certainly smoother overall, helping the Spectral to punch well above its weight for a mid-travel trail bike. We also found the neutral suspension behaviour to be beneficial on the climbs. There's more grip and less feedback through the pedals when things get choppy. It's still plenty efficient though, and the only reason you'd reach for the climb switch is if you were riding on bitumen or heading up a long, smooth fire road. Now on technical climbs, we did encounter a lot of pedal strikes to begin with. This made sense after I measured the BB height at just 332mm off the floor. Putting the flip chip into the high position lifted the BB, bringing it back up to the 340mm height that's listed in the geometry chart. This made a massive difference to the Spectral's climbing abilities, improving ground clearance while also shifting more weight onto the front wheel, which made it feel better balanced across undulating terrain. As for downsides, well, aside from the sizing issue, we've had very few problems with our Canyon Spectral test bike. We're not fans of the overly firm stock grips, and the right-hand side developed some creaking which was quite unsettling on the descents. Some folks may be bothered by the KIS system, but in our experience it's a positive addition to the Spectral, and the fact that it's easily removable means it's pretty much a non-issue. While we've been impressed by the rear suspension on the Spectral, the front end isn't quite as smooth. The Lyric is no doubt a great fork, with the Charger 3 damper offering a load of support and control when pushing hard. However, it doesn't offer the same sensitivity as a Fox 36, resulting in a firmer ride quality that was particularly apparent given the supple rear end. It is worth noting that all the other Spectral models come standard with Fox suspension, and if we were spending our own money, it's the CF7 model that would be our choice. On the note of suspension, we expect that some folks will be disappointed that Canyon didn't stick with the longer travel platform from the old bike, and we did occasionally run out of travel given this is such a confidence-inspiring bike to ride. Bottom-out events were never harsh or uncontrolled, though we'd suggest those with a heavier riding style may want to add volume spaces to both the fork and the shock. Of course, it is possible to extend the fork to 160mm since the frame is rated for it. That being said, folks who are after a bike for more gravity-oriented riding and enduro racing will be better off looking at the longer travel Strive or Torque instead. On the other side of the coin, for some riders, the burly build kit and near 15 kilo weight may be a downside. It is worth noting that this Spectral is nearly 2 kilos heavier than an equivalent Neuron, which is another trail bike in Canyon's lineup. If you'd like to know more about the differences between the Spectral and the Neuron, I'll put a detailed comparison in the full review over at flowmountainbike.com. Just click the link in the video description below if you're keen to check it out. On the note of comparisons, we've just received a 29-inch wheel and tyre to embark on some back-to-back testing with the Spectral. We have loved the mullet setup, but we're eager to see what it's like in full 29er mode. If you're also curious about the differences, stay tuned to the Flow website for our feature article that'll be dropping soon. Now, between the reduction in travel and the radical change in sizing, it admittedly took us some time to warm to the new Canyon Spectral. The more we've ridden it, however, the more we've come to appreciate all of the changes. The suspension is smoother and more active, passing on less feedback to the rider. The updated chassis offers better compliance and off-camber grip, and the Enduro adjacent geometry and Burley build kit gives you plenty of confidence to get off the brakes and charge. We've also appreciated the clearance from the long travel dropper post and the 27.5-inch rear wheel. Combined with the low slung chassis and the short chainstays, the Spectral is a corner-ripping machine. Add in its wheel size flexibility, geometry adjusting flip chips, internal storage and practical frame design, and this should be an easy bike to live with in the long run. Indeed, if you're looking for a capable and fun-filled all-rounder that errs on the more aggressive side, the new Canyon Spectral gets the thumbs up from us. Now, as mentioned before, the full review is now live over at flowmountainbike.com. Just click the link in the video description below if you're keen to check it out. If you've got any questions for us about the new Spectral, make sure you drop those into the comments below. Otherwise, I hope you've enjoyed this video, and we'll see you next time. Tooroo!